Rotax YouTubers. It's time for another insightful walk around of a new 2020 snowmobile. Today's topic is this, a 2020 MXZ X package with a 600R E-Tech under the hood. So we want to give you as much information in as short a time as possible, and we are very cold out here. It's -10 today, -25 this morning at SuperTrax SnowTrax World Headquarters. So if there's a little shivering going on, you know what it is. Anyway, we're warm in our FXR suits. That was a commercial. Okay, so here we go. This is the 600R E-Tech underneath the hood. I want to talk about the motor first, even though you can't see it. The motor, if you did see it, looks very similar to the 850 E-Tech engine. It's a family motor, but there's profound differences between the two engines. Number one, no boost injectors on the 600. The 850 gets boost injectors on the E-Tech injector. The reason being is more horses under the hood. They're all hungry. They want to eat something. The 600 doesn't need them. Two-piece forged crank is not in the 600. The 600 has a built-up crankshaft which revolves around flywheel cheeks, pins pressed together with bearings and rods. It's the way snowmobile crankshafts have been made forever. It works great. The old Series 3 engine, the 600 Series 3, never had any profound crankshaft problems like the 800 did. So this is a good solid crankshaft. So you've got, the other thing that's different is you do not have cast iron ring lands. Those are only on the 850 engine, and they are a durability issue for a bigger displacement, bigger motor. I'm not sure that they would be necessary on a 600. This is a good running motor, puts out probably 130, 125 for sure, 130 horsepower, propels this chassis very efficiently. This is an X package, so it comes with a bar riser, it comes with the tunable skis, it came with the tunnel adjusters for the shocks, for the rear arm shocks, sorry, and compression dampening on the other side can be adjusted remotely for the rear arm shock. Suspension components up front, you've got KYB premium aluminum bodied gas shocks, but here's something that we don't get. This is an X package, this is a premium snowmobile and premium price snowmobile. No adjustability whatsoever in the front end. No compression dampening clickers at all. Seems odd. The competition in this segment, all of them have some kind of compression adjustability. Of course, you do have compression adjustability on the rear arm, and that's kind of deluxe the way you do it because you don't have to reach underneath the sled. Okay, this has got the tunable skis on it, and of course you can adjust the ski and how much bite you want by turning this knob and making the carbide go down and cut into the snow deeper, or bringing it up and cut in less. On this chassis, these skis require you to fiddle with them all the time to get the right balance. If this had 5.7s on it like our 850s do, you wouldn't have to fiddle at all. They steer very predictably under most conditions. These skis have some advantages and they have some disadvantages. The disadvantage is if you don't fiddle with it, it won't handle one day to the next as the snow conditions change. That would be from hard pack to fluffy to 6 inches of new snow to glare ice. You've got to keep changing the depth of the carbide coming out of the bottom of the ski. So that's, you know, for you, if you're a fiddler and you like doing that, well, hey, you're laughing. Okay, on to the ergonomics of the sled. This is a very rider-forward snowmobile, and you can see where the front arm bolts through the tunnel is actually behind your feet, well behind your feet where they go in the footrests. And you can see that you're sitting pretty much right on top of the front arm shock. So what that means is this, and this is a lesson that everybody's kind of learning with this G4 package now in its 3rd season, is this handlebar riser is mandatory. And believe it or not, that amount of movement from there to there makes an incredible difference in how this sled handles. Now, Polaris has this expression where they call it, when you sit back on the seat, it's light in the front end. When you sit forward, it gives bite. Well, Ski-Doo could have used that as well, because I find that if I have this too far forward when I'm riding, and I'm just a svelte, not that heavy duty of a guy, not that well nourished, I find that if I have it forward, it's too heavy to steer for a whole day's ride. It just becomes laborious trying to steer and turn in and carve corners. I put it back like that, and it makes a difference. So if you've got one of these, make sure you fiddle with the bar riser. If you've got a Ski-Doo G4 chassis, make sure you get the bar riser. I'm not trying to sell these for Ski-Doo, but honestly, you need to have that accessory, or if it's on an XRS or an X package, it'll be standard. Okay, terms of wind protection, this is not the stock windshield. This is a windshield that we added afterwards. The stock windshield is called an anti-windshield, and it doesn't do anything. This is definitely mandatory for where we ride and probably where you ride as well. All new gauge cluster. The gauge cluster is supposed to be a step up. I'm not 100% sure that's true. I like the old one with the digital and analog display, but some will argue that this is better. It does track the hot grips and the thumb warmer like the other gauge did, and it gives you a lot of information. It doesn't give you average speed and highest speed recorded, which I would kind of like to see that in the data that it produces. And you can toggle it and move everything around the way you want. It's got a decent storage compartment up in the front here. You can put an extra pair of goggles or a cachet of pemmican and keep it toasty, and that's a good idea. But sadly, this sled, for the kind of dough they asked for, does not come with a rear trunk bag like the Arctic Cat, the Yamaha, and the Polaris all do now. They all come with like a really nice storage bag. I think, you know, this has got Link, and Link is great. It's basically the standard in the industry, but this is where the battery is. There isn't any storage unless you want to buy Link stuff for it. So it's not a cheap snowmobile. It's a good snowmobile, but it doesn't include any storage. The seat. This is the flat top seat. We love flat top seats. Polaris pioneered it with the Axis. But this seat is too soft on the sides. So what happens is when you're running down a lake at 75 miles an hour and you're picking up some track lines and you're jumping around, you tend to feel your butt moving back and forth on the seat, because the flat area where it's firm is not wide enough. It needs to be firmed up out to the edges. That's an observation from riding these for the last couple of years. The brake. Okay, so this is a drive axle brake. You know what we think of drive axle brakes. We don't think they're the best, but I think Ski-Doo has been fiddling with this, and I think that they may have changed the pad material and gone with a softer pad material. One evidence of that is a lot of brake dust for 400 kilometers on this sled. But the reason I think that is there's definitely an improvement in modulation this year. I could be dreaming, but I don't think so. The brake seems to have more depth of modulation and more feel, and we like that a lot. Drive axle brakes can be kind of numb because you're braking right at the track. You don't have the RPM of the jack shaft to help you and give more modulation and feel. But this one is working better this year for sure. Okay, I'm going to fire it up because you all like to hear what they sound like. And that's how it sounds. Doesn't sound like a 4-stroke, doesn't sound like a 2-stroke, sounds like a 3-stroke. Okay, and this has the best security system of any Ski-Doo does across the board. Has the best security system for anti-theft with a digitally encoded tether. Plus the motor is digitally encoded back to the CDI unit or the ECU unit, so that if somebody steals the sled and tries to part it out, it's really a hassle to get a tether cord and to get a matching deal that'll make a stolen engine run. It's great, and it should be copied better than an ignition key. It's a great idea, and it's simple. You just unhook the tether, take it into Larry's Burger Pit and Poutine when you're having lunch, and take it easy and don't worry about somebody ripping your sled off, unless of course they pick it up and throw it in their truck, and there's nothing you do about that. You could digitally encode it to the ground. Okay, so this has the sandwich tunnel. This tunnel is a cooler. It's a heat exchanger. It's aluminum on the inside, aluminum sheet on the inside, and aluminum on the outside. It's not an extruded tunnel like you have on Polaris and Arctic Cat snowmobiles and Yamaha snowmobiles. One thing we notice is Ski-Doos on the same day, G4s with this tunnel, seem to run just a little bit hotter. It's not like hot light. It's not like it's any kind of a problem, but we have noticed that there is a difference in the cooling with this tunnel, and we think what it is because it's not extruded coolers with fins on them. which the snow gets stuck in and stays there if you're running in minimal snow. It's smooth on the bottom underneath, and the snow doesn't stick as much and falls off. That's the theory. We could be wrong, but hey, you watch these things because you want our opinion, so we're giving you our opinion. I think that what might be the issue. Again, I want to emphasize it's not an overheating issue. It's just if you check this sled with its digital instrumentation that gives you a temperature readout with, say, the Polaris that does the same thing, you'll find this sled is running a little bit warmer on the same day, nose to tail. And maybe that's the way they want it. Maybe they want it to run warmer, but I kind of don't think so. Okay, so you've got P-drive under the hood, best primary design in the business, a roller tower. You've got a Boss secondary, that means built-on secondary shaft. The secondary pulley is bonded right to the jack shaft. You've got a big, long, tall chain case on the other side. You never hear any complaints about that, never hear any reliability issues on trail sleds. They work quite well. Other than that, I think we've covered off pretty much everything in detail. What we should say about the R-Motion. R-Motion is still the benchmark in the industry. Polaris Pro CC has come to the party, and Pro CC is really good. R-Motion is the goal line that everybody's been shooting for, and it looks like now they've got some competition. But this is a great working rear suspension. The front suspension, it would benefit so much from some compression adjustability, because this rear skid can that's a 129 by the way out the back, it can overdrive that front end, has been able to since 2017, since the first G4s came out, that the sled is able to overdrive the front end. It needs compression adjustability. And one more thing, this has got an ice ripper on it. Ski-Doo pioneered making ice rippers optional. Great idea, super idea. It's being copied now by the competition, and it should be, because, okay, that's not as good as having like a Gold Digger penetrator stud from Woody's and having a couple of hundred of those in the track. But I can tell you this, it's way better than having nothing. It's much safer on icy surfaces, or you get in a corner and it's snow and then all of a sudden it transitions to an icy bare spot that's really icy. It'll keep you in line, it'll save your day. It'll keep you from going to your insurance company and making a claim. It's a great idea, and you want to, if you're ordering a new Ski-Doo, and if an ice ripper is available, get one, because they really work great. So that's pretty much everything I can tell you about the 600R. I'm going to do the Polaris XC 600 129, and I'll do that sometime in the very near future. Thanks for tuning in, and appreciate all of you. There you go. That's your walk around on the 600R 2020 MXZ X.